Streamcast.
Ayo, welcome to another edition of the Streamcast. I'm your host Blackamura, as always, and today is a very special day because we got a very special guest, a leader, a pioneer, a game changer. Please join me in welcoming my guest today from She Plays Podcast, the host, Lauren.
Hi. Oh, thank you so much for having me. I'm so happy to be here.
Thank you for coming on. Appreciate it greatly. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Like it's just a madhouse at the moment. I'm transitioning in a lot of different sort of things. I have She Plays Games, but then I've just started a new role at Limit Break Mentorship, and then but I'm still doing stuff with Final Fantasy Union, which is like, it's kind of like the thing that it's the side hustle that I just can't let go of ever. Like it's just it is a part of me, and I will always sort of step in to help it. And yeah, so it's busy, but it's good. It's busy and but in a fun way.
Yeah,
Yeah,
good busy,
yeah,
of
good
course.
busy. Yeah.
And we'll definitely get into all of that. She plays games, Limit Break Mentorship, and Final Fantasy Union. But let's get into you, Lauren, first of all. What is your first ever gaming memory?
Oh my goodness. So I would say probably the earliest memory that I have is of playing Super Mario, like the original Super Mario. So my aunt Trisha used to have an old Nintendo console, and she had Super Mario 1 with Duck Hunt with the gun as well, which was so good. I loved that so much. And then she had Super Mario 2, and then she had Super Mario 3. And I basically just went between those three at any given moment, like sort of testing things out. I really did love them. I never really beat any of them because it's just hard. Like it's just a difficult
Yeah.
game. And I was like 5. And but they really like helped me to sort of love games and see that there were things outside of what you could already see about the game, like secrets and stuff, because like there are so many secret areas that you could go into with Super Mario 3 especially, that my aunt used to sort of like show off that she could do and that kind of thing. Um, but then aside from that, my dad surprised me with a Sega Genesis one Christmas. I didn't ask for it, didn't like want it, or like didn't know that I
You
wanted
didn't
it.
want it.
Yeah, I didn't want it. Whatever, Sega Genesis, like. But for non-English viewers, of course, Sega Mega Drive. And yeah, like that was my first baby. I had like, I think my first couple of games were probably Lion King and maybe Sonic 3D Blast. And they really kind of like they made me a true gamer, really. Like I loved playing on my Genesis because it was just one of those things where I could go in the beginning of the day, like right before school. I used to have my friend Carissa over, and she used to try to get through Sonic the Hedgehog 2. Like we would get through as much as we could before school and then have to leave. Well, I think we only ever really got up to the oil zone. I think that was like the furthest that we could get up to before school. But yeah, those are kind of like those are my foundations of gaming. So although I grew up, I was exposed to gaming from a Nintendo sense, I was very much a Sega baby.
Oh, that's wavy.
Yeah.
Also, the Sega Genesis is such a cooler name, I think. So,
Oh, it is interesting. Like I don't know what the decision was about,
mm,
like the different names. They're just like, or unless they were different versions, because like I swear there was like
yeah.
something with how the hardware was. Like the hardware was different in either.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I mean, I will admit, I always wanted a Saturn because I thought that that was the coolest name, like a Sega Saturn. That is just
Yeah.
so like trendy and
Mm.
sci-fi, and naming a console after a planet is just like that's really cool.
Yeah, I often feel like I missed out on those consoles, especially the
Mm,
Sega ones, because they're not really around anymore,
mm.
in terms of a hardware sense.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
it feels like there was a lot that I missed out on, with the whole Streets of Rage franchise and of course
Oh my
Sonic.
gosh, yeah. Yeah, I think it was like just the thing. It was such a lovely bit to be in because, game development back then was so restricted. So like they really had to be creative in how they presented games. I loved how they could like really show characters in just such a few amount of pixels and really make things animated. I was just having a conversation on Twitter not too long ago about how amazing like Sonic the Hedgehog 3 was because well one there was the fun fact that Michael Jackson actually helped compose
Yeah.
some of the music, help arrange some of the music, and they are bangers. They are amazing. Like, oh my gosh, Ice Cap Zone is just
Mhm.
like it's so good. And like the ending theme, there's this guy on YouTube who literally will put Michael Jackson's vocals over Sonic music, and it sounds so good. Love it so much. Um, but yeah, and then the other thing with Sonic the Hedgehog 3 is that they were really like testing the boundaries of what 2D was like defined. So like there were like 3D, 2D sections where Sonic would be able to go around the screen and stuff. And it was just so effective and so good. They really were masters of their specific sort of area of gaming. 100%.
Yeah. It feels like in retrospect, Sega was ahead of the game on many
Mm.
occasions, and sometimes that can be a negative if the consumers aren't ready to accept it. That can be a bad thing. But yeah, looking back on it, they had some real bangers, and they were experimenting. They weren't just trying to play it safe. It's a shame. I wish Sega was still putting out consoles nowadays.
I know. And like, some of the consoles, like the Dreamcast, I never got. So I never experienced the Dreamcast, but I know so many of my friends who did have Dreamcasts who say how it was their favorite console and things like Shenmue, like I wish I experienced it slightly. So I had an older brother and thankfully my older brother had a job when I was very young. So he used to blow all his money on like consoles. And whenever I would go to visit, because my parents were divorced, so whenever I would go to visit my mom's house, my brother's console setup would be there, and he would always have like the latest kit. So that's how I played through the beginning of Shenmue at least like 20 times because I'd just get there and I just restart it and then just keep playing through the same bit over and over again. But I really loved the Dreamcast. That's the one regret that I
Ah,
have. That and the GameCube. That 100%.
mm.
Those two.
Yeah, I missed out on the GameCube, but I'm one of those people that had the Dreamcast, and I can agree with every one of your friends that told you that it's a banging console. It's
Oh,
so good.
so good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and like even just the style of it, like the
Mm.
branding of it was just so nice and cool
Yeah. Yeah.
and the games just look so awesome.
Yeah. I mean, obviously nowadays those graphics are very outdated, but at the time, like
Yeah.
games like Crazy Taxi and Sonic
Yeah.
Adventure, Ready to Rumble, they looked cutting edge. So yeah, it was a lot of fun to play those games. Yeah.
Yeah, no, completely agree.
From your first games, Nintendo baby, I guess Nintendo was your first experience, but you call yourself a Sega baby. How
Mm.
about your favorite games? How about your five games?
Oh,
Can you list off your favorite five games and why?
okay. So even though I am a Sega baby, I was very much a PlayStation adolescent.
I
Because
like this.
yes, it's a generational thing. So, yeah, I transitioned from Sega to basically, um, so I had a side hustle when I was 10. Basically, they had this like,
Right.
what was it? A catalog that
Hmm.
you could get adults to buy things and you would get money back as a child. You would get money back off of anything. It was junk. It was like balloons and like stuff that people didn't need.
Mm.
But, my nana would always like give me money to like for it or whatever. And I don't actually know if she even got the things that she paid for. I don't know what happened with that situation. All I know was that I saved up money. I managed to save up enough money. And I really wanted at that time, an American Girl doll. I was determined I was going to make all these dreams come true because the American Girl dolls were like the mecca of just freaking girlish doll dreams. They were it. They were the moment. And I really wanted Samantha because she was smart and she had long brown hair just like I did. Um, but at the finish line, completely 180'd and said, "No, I want a PlayStation." Like, I'm defying all expectations.
For no reason.
Yeah, y'all were just like expecting this from me because I'm a girl and I'm just going to be like, F the patriarchy. I'm just going to get a freaking PlayStation. And so I decided to get a PlayStation instead. And that was the best decision that I ever did because, like, I freaking love PlayStation. I mean, I just, I started off, I only had enough money for the console. And I started off with a PlayStation demo disc, and that had Spyro, it had Cool Borders, it had Rugrats, it had an FMV for Parasite Eve. I was just like, I was showing this game off to everybody, and it was a demo disc, and it was so good. And yeah, it just really blew my mind, like how much I loved everything about PlayStation, and at that time particularly. In terms of like my favorite games, I mean, I do have a bit of like I fleet a lot, so I have like a lot of different titles that I enjoy for various reasons. So if I can sort of think, so first I would say League of Legends.
Okay.
So that's kind of coming out of left field because I'm like gearing up for a PlayStation title. I'm going
You're
with
full of
League of
surprises.
Legends. But yeah, so League of Legends, it's because I don't want to forget it. League of Legends I've grown up with for the last like 10 years. It's was my first MOBA, and the characters are sick. Riot is proving that they are a force to be reckoned with by releasing things like Arcane and a lot of the other decisions that they've made over the last like maybe few years, sort of controversy aside, they've really like set the bar as far as how you tap into your audience and then like keep it as polished as possible, keep all of your titles as polished as possible because Arcane is gorgeous. I still have yet to play the Ruined King, which is the JRP, like sort of RPG one. But Wild Rift is generally what I play right now, which is the mobile version of League of Legends, and it is the funnest thing ever. Like it's League of Legends, but it's shorter, and it's on my phone, and it takes a little bit to get used to the UI, but it's like I freaking love it. It makes me feel powerful. I love destroying people in the game, especially when I play characters that have lasers that can just like zap them out within like 5 seconds. Like I love it. I love getting my kill count really high. It's great, and teamwork as well is really fab. So like League of Legends is definitely so League of Legends is definitely that one.
Yeah.
Next, I'll go back to PlayStation and I'll say Jammer Lammy. And this one is a
Oh,
bit weird because
okay.
it's have you heard of Jammer Lammy?
No, I
So
don't.
Jammer Lammy is the sister game to Parappa the Rappa.
Oh, okay. Familiar with
So
that.
Parappa the Rappa, I think, came out and it was a success. And then they released a spin-off title. I don't know if it was before or after Parappa the Rappa 2, but they released another title that was all about a girl rock band. And the lead guitarist's name is Lammy. And it's called Jammer Lammy. And it's basically just a story about a guitar playing lamb who's haunted by her nightmares and is just trying to get to her next gig on time, but she keeps getting stopped along the way by like random people. Like she gets stopped by a fireman, she gets stopped by a midwife who thinks
Gosh.
that she's pregnant because she's eaten a lot of pizza, but she hasn't. She's just eaten a lot of pizza, has a food baby. It's a Japanese wonder. Like it's so great. And the music is so good. It's such a good game, and I wish on God's green earth that they would like just freaking remake it
Yeah.
so everybody can experience it because it is just like fantastic. But yeah, so that's like that. I just have such fond memories of playing that game, and then I'd say number 3 is Near Gestalt, which is like Near Replicant, the original version of Near Replicant. That game affected me in so many ways. It's really, really an emotional game, particularly when you play through it the first time. Like it's just so sad. It's really but the world building is just so good. It's so well done. I just to this day I will never have as unique and as an emotional experience as I've had with Near Gestalt, and the music's incredible as well. Yeah, it's a really a fantastic title. And then Final Fantasy wise, my favorite is Final Fantasy, probably Final Fantasy 10. It's a close tie, I feel like, because I'm playing through Final Fantasy 8 again at the moment, and I I'm like, oh, it was Final Fantasy 8 was my first game, and I am having like a nostalgia throwback because it's such a great title, but like Final Fantasy 10 is the one that I go back to like
Yeah.
all the time. I always get the itch to play Final Fantasy 10 again. The story's great. The voice acting is it's like I think it's good for the time. I don't see anything wrong with the voice acting really in most cases. It's funny. Um it has a really interesting look on how religion affects society and how corruption within governments really like harm and like control and this sort of thing. Like it's really 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 deep when you get into it. And I really really love Final Fantasy X for that complexity. um and then last and certainly not least, I gotta say Elden Ring. Oh, Elden
Oh,
Ring,
okay.
it's so good. Like so I played that game for review. I am a really big Souls fan. Demon Souls is the first one I played, which is the first one
Yeah.
of the sort of Souls-like series. And I just it was everything that I wanted from like the other game. So like I'm not really a huge Dark Souls fan. Bloodborne, I can take or leave, but it freaks me out too much for me to actually be able to play it effectively. It's just really creepy. I don't like plague people. I really don't.
Fair enough.
And so, but Elden Ring, I just adore. I really love the atmosphere. I love the character designs. I love the lore. I love the gameplay. It just took everything that I love about Souls games and just amplified it so much. And it was such a lovely experience when it came out and everybody was playing it and we were all finding like these unique areas of the world because we were all exploring at the same time and finding these really hilarious, unique moments. My favorite is like there's this one. I don't know. Have you played Elden Ring?
I have not, but it's
Oh,
literally the next game I want to play after I
oh,
finish
perfect. Mm.
it.
Fair enough. It's like so there's this one dungeon that you're in, and it's
Mhm.
literally it's the most ridiculous thing, which is why I also love the game because they just come up with the most ridiculous things. So you go in and there's like a bunch of skeleton people who slice at you, whatever. But you come into this one area, the floor is like basically lava, and you have like a couple places, a couple roads that you can go on, and
Right,
then you have these side bits that you can like sort of go in on the sides. The skeleton people pop out of those side bits, but meanwhile you have this guy who's literally like this mechanical creature thing on what looks like a metal like log, like weird like thimble just contraption thing, and he just motors it down. He just is going down the hill full speed ahead, taking everything in his path, and he wants to destroy you. And so he
okay.
follows you around, like you go into a different hill or whatever, and then he's just like, I'm here still, and tries to run you over again. And but there are these bits where you go into a little side passage, and the skeleton guy just like jumps out at you and leaps into the path that you've just come from, and you get into your little hole because you feel
Right.
safe in there, and you look over, and the skeleton guy is starting to get himself up, starting to brush himself off, ready to
Mm.
fight you again. But then all of a sudden the steamroller guy just comes down and like completely just pastes him and knocks. It's so funny, and it's like those kind of late things in games like Souls, those like little teeny tiny funny moments are
Mm.
just they just really make it such a unique fun experience. But yeah, that's probably my five, I think.
Oh, that's a very strong list, and I like the variety of genres.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing, right? Like I never sort of like, I can also say there's also like a lot of other ones I could say, like The Sims, like I love those types of games. But yeah, no, I love a lot of what games have to offer, and you know, there's no sort of cutoff point
Right.
of what I will play unless it's an FPS, which I just suck at. I just accept that I suck at it. And sports games, I suck at both of them. Yeah, I just suck. Like I'll play them, but I just yeah, I can't.
So I won't invite you to play COD. Not
Or you do, and you just laugh at my failure of
yeah.
being able to understand how to play an FPS.
I do love it how I feel everyone has that genre where no
Yeah.
matter how hard they try, it just doesn't click for them.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
to be fair, FPS is me as well. I can't do any of those games. I will stomach it if it's got a
Yeah.
good story behind it, like Last of Us. I will play those, even though I don't know what I'm doing with those guns, but
Yeah.
I can't do
I
them.
know. I still need to play through The Last of Us, honestly. I keep getting freaked out though, because like, do you identify it as scary? Like, do you think it's scary?
Oh yeah, that's a horror game.
Yeah.
Those are horror
Okay.
games.
Okay. Because some people are just like, it's not that scary, and I'm like, have you seen a clicker?
Have you heard them do their clicking noise and then jump
Yeah.
out at you? They're
Yeah.
overgrown mushrooms. That's horror.
Yeah. It's really freaking scary. And they're just like, nah, it's not that scary. I still might try it someday. Like I got through BioShock, which really freaked me out too.
I would
Um,
say Bioshocks are horror as well. It's got horror
yeah.
elements.
Yeah. But yeah, but I do wanna but it's worth it for you, it was worth it, wasn't it?
Oh yeah,
Last of Us.
absolutely.
Mm.
It's some of the richest storytelling I've ever seen, and we've seen the success translate into the HBO series now.
Mm.
And now the rest of the world, non-gamers, are understanding. Hey, this is a really good story. Now that I don't have to, pick up a pad, I understand how good it is.
I
Such a good story,
know. I
worth
know.
playing. Even if you do turn around and say, it wasn't worth it for you, or you thought it was average, I think it's still worth that experience at least
Yeah.
one time.
Yeah, and it definitely. I mean, I love Naughty Dog, you know, like it was to be fair, Crash Bandicoot was the first game I ever got for my PlayStation. My nana, bless her, I got a really good report card, and she said basically that she was going to take me to the game store, and was just like, you know, just pick out a game, pick out any game you want, and like I'll get it for you for getting such good grades. And I was just like, oh, okay. I mean, I was ecstatic as a kid, and I picked out Crash Bandicoot, and you know that the rest was history. Like I loved Crash Bandicoot, I loved Uncharted, um, and you know I just think Naughty Dog's so strong. Like they're so strong in how they've created their games, and you never would think that Naughty Dog would be would be responsible for The Last of Us from like Crash Bandicoot,
Right.
right? Like it's just like a weird like Tasmanian devil creature with like big heads just following you going ooga booga, and The Last of Us.
I mean, it's just perfect evolution, I see, you know?
Yeah. Can you imagine? From the creators that brought you the intense Last of Us, now brings you Crash Bandicoot.
See, if it went the other way around, I think that's a much tougher sell.
Yeah. Oh, it'd be so great though. But yeah. No, yeah. I know. I need to. So you need to get on Elden Ring, and I need to get
Mhm.
on The Last of
Last of
Us.
Us. I actually need to
Yeah.
get on Uncharted as well.
Oh, it's so
Being
good.
exposed on how many games I haven't played.
Oh,
But
that's okay. It's a journey. It's like you get to experience, like that's the exciting bit, isn't it? It's the games that you
yes,
get to experience for the first time that are just so good.
yeah.
But yeah.
During the pandemic, I played BioShock for the first time, and that was a
Oh,
trip. I really enjoyed it.
yes.
I started off hating it because it's a shooting game, but you
Yeah.
know, there's that twist, and um, throughout my time playing the game, obviously I'm getting better, and I'm kind of understanding why the game is what it is. So it was
Yep.
a tremendous experience. Mm,
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, my husband never got on with it. So Daryl never really liked the sort of like system of BioShock. Like he's I don't know, like he just didn't really gel with it. For me, I it was my sort of yeah, it was pretty much my first FPS experience with a story. And like it's funny because like my friend in university, Joe, um him and I had such a fun bond because we were like brother and sister. It really reminded me of that type of relationship because like he would play all the scary games that I couldn't play myself, and I would just watch. So I watched him play Condemned Criminal Origins,
oh, okay.
and that was he actually had to return it the next day because it was just so scary. It's just like, no, I'm not touching that anymore. But he'll play through like he would be like the one playing through like Resident Evil, and like I used to hijack his PlayStation to play Devil May Cry, and but BioShock was the one that I finally was just like, you know what, I'm gonna play it myself as well because like he seemed like he was having so much fun with it, and I was just like, it is such a fun atmosphere. Like it's just I mean, hell, I wish that they could have made a movie from it. Like I think that they've been talks about it for ages, but like I think it would work so well as a movie or as TV series.
Yeah. I think with modern games, there is almost that template now that, okay,
Mm,
we're writing this as if it's a TV show or as if
yeah.
it's a movie. I get that feeling at least. I know in the build up to God of War, the 2018 game, the actress who went on to play Freya read the script and thought it was for Game of Thrones. So it's the quality of storytelling in games has just increased so much over the last 10, 20 years, even.
Yeah.
Um, it's not a surprise that I feel we could easily have an hour long podcast talking about which games would make successful movies and vice
Oh
versa.
my gosh, yeah. Yeah, 100%. But yeah, no, it's so cool.
Yeah. One thing I personally love about a lot of the stories that you've been telling, or I guess when you've been taking me through your life as a gamer, there's always someone else taking you through, or there's always someone else playing or enjoying those games with you, whether it's your nan or whether it's your friend. uh,
Mm,
I really appreciate that, and it just drives home the point that gaming is meant to be enjoyed with other people. Of course, you can have single
mm,
player experiences, but I feel its purest form is just you and a friend, or you and someone else, either sharing games, playing games together, or as you said, um, you watching your friend play through a game. I feel that's
yeah.
just the magic of gaming. It
Oh,
can be
yeah.
enjoyed. Yeah, it can be enjoyed without you having to actually play the game. And I think that's just beautiful.
Oh, yeah, it is. Like, it's something that, like, so many of the old fogies just don't get. Like, they'll just look at us with streaming and they're just kind of like, why do you watch somebody else play the game? But it's exactly that. It's like, like we just enjoy it. Like it's nice. It's fun to like interact with somebody. It's fun to see what choices they make, and you get introduced to games that, yeah, you wouldn't normally play. Like there's so many indie games that I would not have played had I not encountered them from other people. And yeah, yeah, it's really is a lovely experience. You're exactly right. And I think it's something that we share in this medium that's really unique compared to like anything else. Like you kind of have it with movies, maybe like, oh, that part really scared me or something, or
Yeah,
it made me really sad. But it feels like because you actually did it in a game, like it adds that like extra level of just of enjoyment with each other.
yeah, absolutely. I think the interactivity is the secret to why gaming is so addictive and why it is now getting the flowers that it so richly deserves. As you said, with
Mm,
movies, you can have, okay, we'll talk about this in 72 hours, spoilers.
mm,
Same with TV series, but with gaming, as you quite rightly said, it's you doing those, pressing those buttons, succeeding with those QTEs, watching those cutscenes. Yeah,
yeah.
I think the involvement of the player is what gives gaming its source.
Mm.
Before we get on with the rest of the podcast, I'd just like to give a special shout out to Spilt Milk Studios for their support over on Patreon. To find out how you can get a shout out just like them, make sure to go to patreon.com/streamcast for more.
It's
Um,
so funny actually, like just to say as well, like yesterday my girls are really obsessed with Minecraft at the moment. Well, Allie's mostly obsessed with Minecraft. Lizzie follows suit, but basically I was showing them my island because I've just started
yeah,
up a save with the mountain, and so they I was digging and Allie was getting really freaked out because she didn't like the fact that I was mining. I'm playing in survival mode. She doesn't play in survival mode because it's just
right,
too scary. It's way
of
too
course,
scary.
yeah,
Like honestly, survival mode in Minecraft is a horror game. It's freaky as AF. And it was so funny because we were going down this little thing, and I finally reached like sort of I reached a sort of limit where I was just like, okay, I've reached a cave, I've reached water or whatever, and all I could see was this little creeper popping its head up, just like, and I was just like, look, it's a creeper, look at him. And they just started bursting out laughing. And I'm like, look at his face, look at his face. He's just like, hello, how are you doing? And I like make these voices, and the girls are just like, you're so funny about me. And then all of a sudden, this skeleton came up, and I hate the skeletons in Minecraft because I can never avoid them. They shoot things at you, and I can never ever avoid them. So I started freaking out and running out and locking them up and said, no, 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 we're not going to do that anymore. Um, but it's like those kind of small moments that like, I just love that. I just love that I shared that with them. And yeah, yeah. And they enjoy mummy's sassy silliness.
See, that's such a unique experience that
Mm,
you can't replicate through watching the show or
mm.
playing through a movie. And who's to say that they weren't going to start screaming when they saw the creeper popping their head out, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, that is the thing that I love about gaming, that unpredictability. And once again, even if it is just you in the gaming sense, the character who dies, um, that's still an effect that you don't want to mess with, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, yeah, there's a lot of cool stuff when it comes to gaming, and
Yeah.
um, yeah, like we were saying, it's just a magical experience. It's a great medium to enjoy
Mm.
stories and to enjoy each other's company.
Yeah.
So we'll talk a little bit about She Plays Games podcast, because that is another medium that you've been able to share, and that's something that we have in common because we're both podcasters. And I
Yep.
think, oh, it's more difficult than people give it credit for, I would say.
Oh my
Um,
gosh, yeah. Yeah. Like it's a thing, right? Like so many, even since I've started She Plays Games, so many podcasts like mine have appeared
mhm,
and then just after maybe a few months have just said no. Like they just can't, they just
yeah.
don't continue it anymore. Because it
Mhm,
is, it's a grind. It's a lot of the times you are funding it yourself. All of the hosting, all of
mhm,
the mics, you're organizing, you're getting all the guests on, which can be really stressful, and doing all the research. Like
yeah.
it's a lot of stuff. A lot of stuff goes into a podcast.
Absolutely. So, as one of the successful ones, I would say,
Oh,
tell me about your experience starting the podcast. I know it goes a little bit into Final Fantasy Union, so I'm gonna
yeah.
put that at the after. So that will be like 1A. But
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
guess talk to me about making the transition into She Plays Games, how that process started, the difficulties early on with podcasting, as you said, is all you, money, time, your
Yeah.
skills, your networking, and yeah, tell me about how you got it to where it is today, because you've got a few sponsors, which is amazing. You know,
Yeah.
I'm
Oh,
gonna add in
thank you.
an applause soundtrack there. It's gonna sound amazing.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, yeah. Like, I mean, like the sponsorships, I'm still not comfortable with it. Like, I'm still, I'm terrible at asking for money. I'm really, really bad. I'm so nervous. I get so scared. And, yeah, I'm so appreciative of the sponsorships that I do have. And it's so important to like ask for like
Yeah.
sort of like selling yourself, right? Like
Mhm.
just sort of saying like I have this impact, like I am someone who's speaking to a group of people, and really own up to the fact that like you are offering a service, and that service does deserve some funding in order for you to keep it going. And so with SPG, I just kind of started it, like I wasn't really thinking about where it could go. I didn't think about money really, because I knew with Final Fantasy Union and Kingdom Hearts Union, we barely made anything from those like podcasts, particularly with ads. Like we didn't ever get to a point, or we didn't ever explore really a lot of monetizing options for those series, even though we were the biggest in what we were doing. We were the biggest Final Fantasy podcast. We were the biggest Kingdom Hearts podcast. But basically, I was just really burnt out from everything with Final Fantasy Union, that I decided I wanted to do something for myself. And I also really thought that there was a gap for podcasts that focus specifically on women in the games industry. And I just kind of did a lot of self-reflecting, just sort of thinking about like what I would have wanted as a kid, because when I grew up, I didn't have any role models. Like I couldn't really see much of what I could be, because I just didn't think it existed. I sort of thought maybe I wanted to be an actress, didn't really have a place to go, like didn't really know where to take it. I was really good at art. Like I was really good at drawing, doodled all the time. But like, everybody would sort of say, "Oh, what do you want to be? Like, you want to be a Disney artist? Like, what do you want to do?"
Yeah.
And so like I didn't really have those positive voices around me who would really help me to like sort of point me to the way, because I really needed that. there's some people who can find their way without it, which like those kind of people are amazing. But for me, I felt like I felt a bit forgotten because I had a single family home. My dad was working his butt off to like take care of us. And, the other voice I had was my Nana, and my Nana, bless her soul, she was happy with whatever I did. She just, if she wanted me to have a living, but she mainly just saw me as a receptionist, which is like completely legitimate career.
Yeah.
It just is not, it's just not where I felt my sort of skill set was set to. And
Sure.
it's really actually ridiculously hard to get receptionist jobs as well. Like, it's one of those things where you need to like know somebody, or the planets need to align for a reception. Like I never see, particularly in the games industry, like I think a lot of the times maybe office manager jobs come up, maybe, but it's very rare that they do. Particularly now when it's like remote work as well.
Yeah.
Um, so like I just had no direction. And I just sort of thought, like, what would I have needed in order to have that? And then I thought, well, one thing I do have in my arsenal is podcasting, because I've been doing it for the last decade. I know how to build a podcast. I have the tools in order to make it happen. Like we had all the microphones and stuff. I just needed a name. I needed guests, and I needed sort of just to figure out the logistics of and the branding. So thankfully I had some time. I could create my own branding initially, and then the guests, I did a lot of cold calls. I had some people who I knew in the industry from when I was a journalist, but it was at times it was very hard to get a hold of them, because they'd gone off and done like other, like very sort of, they were very successful. Season 2 I had Kelsey Christo from Twitch on, and her I knew from back when I was starting out. And we could never get her, we could never find a time to organize in season 1, even though I had asked her in season 1. And it happens like all the time. Like that's not like anything weird, like that the kind of delayed process of organizing somebody to come on the show and like working out schedules. I mean, you know, everybody's busy. Everybody's got stuff going on and have different commitment levels. And so yeah, that first year particularly, I felt really stretched out, but excited about like finding new people. And um I I had quite a few initially. I had like Ellie Rhodes, who she used to work at Ubisoft. And then I had Sandra Chow, who was one of my friends I knew from Final Fantasy UK fans from back in the day. And now she works at Square Enix, which is really cool.
Oh,
Um, yeah, it's like, these sort of people, but it was a lot of cold calling. But one of my reprieves came from basically this woman, Mary Claire, from a initiative called Women in Games, reached out to me about coming to the Women in Games festival. And I didn't really know what it was. It was the first time I'd ever been in like sort of invited to go to an expo like that, and I like only just started SPG, but I was just like, wow, this is a really amazing opportunity. So I like, I got myself all set up for it. Had it prepared of who I wanted to sort of speak to, so I could get some contacts to like get people on the show and that type of thing. And it was a lot of me just sort of pitching what I was to whoever would listen to me. And I got a few people I got a few people to say yes from that. Because meeting people in person is just such a much better experience
Yeah.
than anything else. Like,
Absolutely.
honestly, like, it's just for me, it's just such a easier experience trying to talk about that, like, talk about SPG and stuff. And, yeah, and actually, like, through that is how I met, my friends, Nerd Pirates, Victoria and Lily, who are amazing, and they actually did the branding that I have now, for SPG. They created my branding deck and stuff. So it's like those kind of people who I met through that, really propelled SPG forward and made it what it is now. Um, and even like Anissa, who runs Limit Break Mentorship, I met her at that event as well. Gave her my name, and she was the last episode I had for that season. So yeah, it was just yeah, starting out, it just came from a lot of heart and a lot of want to make the industry a better place, but also make a space that wasn't necessarily going to exploit women and their
Right.
traumas. That was the biggest objective that I had, was that I did not want to make the podcast about exploiting women's sort of upsets about the industry. Because I've just felt like, there was definitely places that you could do that. A lot of people releasing, manifestos and articles and Twitter threads about like
Mhm.
the horrible things that they've witnessed in the games industry. And I thought that, they are 100% valid in those things, but I just didn't want to make my show. I didn't want to make my show about that. I wanted to
Yeah.
just have these positive, sort of inspiring themes so that we could make the industry a better place and that type of thing. So yeah, that's basically how it went.
Amazing. And I do appreciate that last point as well, because I feel, as you said, while it's completely valid, I do feel that there is a lot of people who try to emulate that.
Mm,
Almost, I don't know if trauma porn or torture porn is the right
yeah,
terminology, but almost getting the same, the same people to come out with the same experiences so they can put it on their platform and get the clicks and the engagement. But then where is the solution to that?
yeah,
It,
exactly. We're just like throwing it into air.
right? You just, I don't know. I feel, yeah, like I think you said it better than I am trying to. But
That's
yeah, I feel like
okay.
those spaces are completely valid, but I think it's very important to also show that, oh, we're not just people that you come to when you want a sad story. We also
Yeah.
have our own gaming lives as well. We have our own
Mm.
characters. We have our own likes, dislikes, etc. So it's very important to have that space carved out. And yeah, I've got to just commend you for
Oh,
making that space. Yeah. Um, and now, as you said, there have been, there's always going to be others. Once you see something, successful, once a blueprint comes out, everyone's going to try and copy it and put their own spin on it. And the ones with the USPs that are worth it stick around. So
yeah.
yeah, congrats to you for
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, I mean, like hell, like, there's definitely days where it does get a lot, and you sort of think like, holy hell, like you've not edited the podcast on time, and you're just like trying your hardest to put it out, and then like, some podcasts, they when you start looking at the numbers, you're just kind of like, oh my gosh, like wait, that one didn't do as well as that one, and
that. Hmm.
I like you do kind of start second guessing, like just second guessing yourself,
Yeah.
particularly when you're first starting out and whether or not you're making a difference. But like, yeah, it's like if you stick with it, particularly, interviewing style podcasts and stuff, like there will be a time where things will pick up, or if it doesn't lead to that podcast necessarily being the thing that defines you, it will lead hopefully to something else that will, which is what like I've done as well, like just sort of, the opportunities that I've had to be able to talk with people at places like Google and that type of thing, like they've been it's been so incredible. Never would I have thought that like SPG would have led me to those places. So, you never know. It's just one of those things where yeah, just hit and record, as the cliche goes, like just hit and play, just hit record, and everything will work out. And yeah.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. It feels like Let's Start a Podcast is the millennial version of Let's Start a Band. Back
Yeah.
in the 80s and the 90s and in the 80s as well, let's say.
Yep.
You had your friend, your friendship circle, your trust circle, and yeah, you'd go into business together, and that
Oh,
always
it's
makes
so
you laugh.
true.
It always
It's
makes
so
you laugh
true.
because
Yeah.
I'm sure you get it a lot. I've been approached a couple of times by friends who are like, "Oh, we want to do our own podcast," and then I'm like, "Excellent! What is it about?" And they don't know.
I know. Oh, bless them. But it is, yeah, like I always have my ear out for anybody who, like, I will just, give them everything that they need. I mean, like right now, I've been helping out my friend Liddell, build out they play games podcast. I started that conversation basically because like, um, I think especially in women's space, there's a lot of anger and upset because like frequently non-binary and non-gender conforming people are roped into the same space. And it's a shame because it's like, yeah, they have their own voices, they have their own things that they want to bring to the table, and they don't identify as she her, like they shouldn't just be roped in with women. And so, I identified that, and I just sort of thought like I just didn't want to be I wanted that podcast to exist, but I didn't think that it was right for my voice to be behind it because I am not gender non-conforming or non-binary. I am a woman. I am a cis woman. So I was just on the hunt, sort of provisionally since last year for somebody to sort of take that mantle over and make it sort of this lovely success. And Liddell thankfully came out from another friend, Sarah. They basically were just like, Liddell, I think, would be a really great fit for this. And so I reached out to Liddell, and then we've had like quite a few chats about how to build the podcast. I made the branding quite similar. We talked about the branding and that type of thing. And yeah, and that's basically how that is. I just wanted to pay it forward, really, like really make sure that Liddell was like prepared for any obstacles that may happen, but also help like a different group of people to feel visible and have the same positive effects that She Plays Games has had on women. I wanted for non-binary, non-gender conforming people as well. So yeah, it's been a really lovely experience. And I'm so happy for Liddell. I think like it's turning out really, really great, and there's such great support for it. And Liddell is just so awesome. I love them so much.
Oh, I will say I think those two podcasts, She Plays Games and They Play Games, very important.
Mm.
And I think that they are going to stand the test of time. I
Oh,
think you are going to get the effect that you desired, where you're going to have little children who either identify as women or identify as non-binary. They're going to look towards your podcast and will cite them as role models. And I
yeah.
think that's such a big step forward in representation,
Mm.
because with men and with white people, white men, there are a lot of people to look up to. There are a lot of people on TV or in the movies to compare yourself to find some sort of relation to. Um, so I don't want to use marginalized, but with these communities, it is very important to have something out there that is,
Yeah.
you know, shining a positive light, most importantly, on the niche that is gaming.
Yeah. Yeah, no, completely, completely. I mean, yeah, we have to really raise the voices of everybody because, at the end of the day, we're not not to be morbid, but it's like we're not going to be around forever, We have to make sure that the games industry doesn't collapse because we're not able to because like people are either, not able to share their stories or things don't get seen by the right people and that type of thing. Like it is so important to really really keep it going and keep people keep people informed about their options and who's actually like behind their favorite games as well.
Yeah, very important. I think that's one of the positives brought on by social media and the
Yeah.
advancement of technology over the past 20 years. It's so accessible. Everyone's accessible. The creator of your favorite game is a tweet away,
Yeah.
and just like that, you could build friendships, relationships with people that you might never meet face to face. It's really beautiful.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Yeah, I love it. I love it so much.
So we'll take a little bit of a retrospective now because I feel this is a huge part of you as a presenter, as a host. Talk to me about Final Fantasy Union.
Yeah.
Go into
Yeah.
Kingdom Hearts Union as well.
Yeah. Well, basically, so another anecdote. So when I was in high school, I I did have one friend, my friend Lauren, who she was just as geeky as me, and it was great. And but she was really really dedicated to like community, like online communities and stuff, whereas I wasn't really. I was much more of a recluse hermit. And she approached me one day and just sort of said, like, look, I have a friend who's thinking of putting together a Kingdom Hearts podcast. And this was like a decade ago. So podcasts weren't really like a big thing yet. And I was just kind of like, okay. And she's just like, do you want to be on it? Do you want to be on my podcast and talk about Kingdom Hearts for like an hour? I'm like, yes. Um, and so that's basically how it started. Our friend Kyle basically said that they like, wanted to have a show with sort of three other people, and all of us just talk about Kingdom Hearts. And it was really like a nice stepping stone into the world of podcasting. I would go over to Lauren's house, we would chat for like an hour, and keep up with news. I really learned how to build like outlines for podcasts and that type of thing, and got my feet wet and how to like sort of talk about things, and just sort of have conversations on podcasts and that type of thing. Um, and then from there, I basically like moved on. So Kyle came to me asking if I wanted to do game reviews, and I said okay. So basically, like it's a lot of me just saying okay to things that I wasn't really sure I was good at. But in life, you just gotta say okay sometimes to things
Yeah.
that you're not comfortable with. So I said sure. Like I liked games, I knew games, it was fine. Um, and then that's when I met my now husband Daryl, who ran the website with Kyle, and it was so funny because like he admitted to me later that he gave me a really crap game to review just because he had like instances, not crap game. Well, we won't say crap game because Trials HD is not a crap game, but less risky
Okay.
game. Like it wasn't like Assassin's Creed, which
Mm,
like if they had given that to me and then I just said peace, like that
right.
would have ruined their relationship with
Sure.
Ubisoft for like ever. Like this would had the least bit amount of like of being blacklisted to show that I was
Yeah.
really serious about what I was doing and that kind of thing. And so yeah, so I played through Trials HD. I reviewed it for the first time, and they liked it enough, so they kept me on, and actually got to play Assassin's Creed 2 for a review, which was like that was the coolest thing, having this first game that I got to play before everybody else. I was just like, this is the dream. Like, this is amazing. And from there, Kingdom Hearts Union grew, but then they had a sister podcast called Final Fantasy Union, and I was a part of that too. So they sort of brought me in. So then I started doing two podcasts at once, and then I think over the years we collected a load. I mean, I think at one point I was literally doing about 5 podcasts at one time, which is just like
Jeez.
insane. I wasn't editing them, thank God.
Okay.
We hired somebody for that,
Smart.
but like it was a lot of podcasts, and it was like we had a general gaming one, we had one for our community, we had one for Final Fantasy Union, one for Kingdom Hearts Union, and yeah, it was just craziness, but it was really fun. And then Daryl and I, when we got married, unfortunately, Daryl had to get a job. Like it was fine. Like it would have been fine, but like essentially, for me to move over and stuff, it was that thing of like, having a solid foundation. And like, yeah, so Daryl kind of had to put gaming union on the back burner, and kind of take a side role to it, whereas he was like kind of the leader of it. But unfortunately, in his absence, it just kind of depleted significantly, and then sadly it just kind of died a very slow death. It was a really nice time while we had it, though. Like it was just such a cool experience being a part of the games news team. I did a lot of games, like I did a lot of news stories, a lot of reviews, a lot of like editorial. So I really got to practice a load of different skills that I wouldn't have practiced otherwise. And yeah, I really enjoyed that. But then sort of I kept on with Final Fantasy Union for whatever reason. I just sort of thought like, I just didn't want to let it die. Like
Mm,
I was fine with Gaming Union dying, but I wasn't okay with Final Fantasy Union dying. And Final Fantasy Union is actually the thing that Daryl started up initially. So Daryl,
mhm.
when he first created gamingunion.net, it was his first site was all about Final Fantasy. It was a Final Fantasy based website. And so, you know, I don't know. I felt like something was there still. And I'd always wanted to be big on YouTube for some reason. I always wanted to be a content creator. I think it's because I grew up with YouTube, because like
Mm.
I was watching it back when like Bohem was big, like doing his weird webcam reviews of videos and stuff, and like the Hill 80 over the Hill 88, and like all these really old school YouTubers. I was invested in the YouTuber drama. Holy hell, that was great.
Oh
Um,
my days. Do you remember when like they would use videos to call each other out and they would
yes.
reply with video? Oh
Oh
my
my
god.
god, the reply
Yeah.
videos. Where like I'm so happy that TikTok actually has that. Like they kind of took it over now, haven't they?
Yeah,
Like
definitely.
they finally brought back like really pointed video responses. Oh,
Yeah. Easy to track, easy to follow.
so good. And I was a spicy teenager. I lived for it. But I just always wanted to be a part of something. Like I didn't really want to be a YouTuber in the way that everybody else was doing it. I kind of just wanted to create things that were magical, and things that I like were musical, and almost like trailer like I didn't really want to create things that were I didn't really want to create things that weren't like sort of I don't know. The only word I can think of is like beautiful. But yeah, just something that's like something that means something that has like a meaning behind it. I just really wanted to create that kind of videos. And so I started playing around with Final Fantasy Union's YouTube. We did like interviews to start with voice actors, which did okay, but we played around with news posts. And then it wasn't until about 2015 when we finally decided let's try and do like an sort of more editorial piece. Let's do like, um a guide for Final Fantasy 15, which had just come out. Like let's do some guides for it. We were a bit late to the party, but we thought, you know what, it might still have some life in it. And so we released our first video. I edited it. Daryl did the voiceover slash writing and research because he's really good at research. And like we realized that it made like it made like £5, but like we just thought like, that's the most that we ever made on
Right.
something like that we've created.
Hmm.
And like, maybe we can make more. Maybe we can like make this into work. Like, because I was working a full-time job at that time. I'd just gone on maternity. I'd been on maternity leave, and like they were not playing ball with my sort of request to work from home or anything. So I was like in two minds of whether or not I wanted to sort of go back to that. And then yeah, we just sort of thought like, you know what? Let's just go for it. And sure enough, like things started to work, and like our YouTube channel started to grow. And we got up to like 100,000 subscribers, and we were just like this is really sick. We got our like our little piece, our little YouTube plaque. And then now we're about like 2,700 subscribers on YouTube. And like we've just keep going and going, and we've released a book, which we're still
Wow.
fulfilling. We're still sending out all the books because we did a Kickstarter campaign, and managed to sell like a lot of books. But we are still making our way through it despite the UK's like freaking collapse of Royal Mail and everything else under the sun. It's been so stressful. But yeah, Final Fantasy Union has been a lot of reviving, a lot of like sort of phoenix moments of, is this as far as we can take it? And then
Mm.
eventually we just find something else that can make it more. And it was really sad. Like, I kind of stepped away from it when I started SPG, just because like I just don't know. I think I was just feeling burnout from everything. Like, although I'm really like passionate about video editing, I'm decent at video editing. Video editing is boring at times. It's
Uh,
like it's such a grind. And if you're doing like 20-minute videos, like it is exhausting. Like even now when Daryl's like, "Can you do this video for me?" I'm just like, "Oh, okay, I'll do it." Like, because I really do like it. But you get to a point where you're like 7 hours down the line and you still have 5 minutes left to edit, and you know that it's going to take you like still a couple more hours to do. You're just like, I
Mhm.
can't, like, my brain and willpower are gone. I keep snacking on everything. Like, it's just, it's a lot. So yeah, so I had stepped away a bit, but I'm still kind of there. I'm there in spirit. And when they need big guns to come in and you know show them a thing or two now. But yeah, we have like a really great team now. We have a couple video editors, a couple writers, which has been really nice as well, because like you just sort of think like I would have loved this type of role when I was like in
Yeah.
university and that type of thing, like starting out, like being paid in order to do like video editing and stuff.
Mhm.
That's sick. That's amazing. Not having to work at Friendlies where I was making ice cream splits for people. That was fantastic. Um, but yeah. So yeah, Final Fantasy Union has been responsible for a lot of really good things in my life, including my husband. But yeah.
It's probably right at the top, right?
Yeah. Oh, and so is. He's adorable. He's just like, oh, I'm so jealous of him though, because he got to go to the Final Fantasy 16 preview event. He got to play Final Fantasy
Ooh.
16, and I didn't because I made other plans and I was
Ah.
sad and it didn't happen. But
Wait, the plans that you made to not go to the preview
yeah.
event, they fell through?
Oh no, they didn't fall through. I did go.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. No, it was like it was great what I did,
Okay.
but at the same
Yeah.
time, I wish I could have done both.
Yeah. I get it.
I wanted to do everything. I wanted that little like weird time turner thing from the franchise that will not be named to just go back in time so that I could just do everything that I wanted to do.
Mm.
But alas, I did not. So I'll have to wait my turn eventually.
At least it was your choice and not you being snubbed or something. That would have been
Yeah.
outrageous.
Yeah, no, definitely. But yeah. It's okay. It's okay. I'll get
There'll
through
be
it.
future events, I'm
Yeah,
sure.
I hope so. I hope so. I'll just like tie myself to Square Enix's offices to just be like, please let me in. I just want to play.
You got some time next week?
Yeah. Like, oh, why is she here again? It's just like I love
Just
you
let her
guys. I
in.
know. I just love you all. Just let me in. But yeah.
So we had touched on earlier the importance of having a women-led, women-focused podcast and a non-binary focused podcast as well. But I
Mm,
feel it's just as important to have those voices, those characters on the screen as well in the
mm,
games that we enjoy and play. So this is a very interesting point now because we are here at a time where we are seeing more women lead games. So we've got Elle, Ellie, sorry, on The Last of Us. We've got Layla on Redfall. How do you feel the stories and the portrayal of women in games have evolved over the years as well?
mm. It's interesting actually because I did a TikTok not too long ago where I was really going through each year from like I think about 30 years ago was where I kind of like cut off, maybe even more. But essentially, yeah, I was just like trying to figure out like a pivotal person, a pivotal woman character in each of the years that sort of represented where women were in games like at that point. It was interesting because there were some years where like it was a struggle to find like a decent like women character
Mhm.
that I felt like represented that time. And you know, it's interesting because like I do think like Aeneas Sarkeesian, despite like all the freaking, controversy that came out of feminist frequency and that type of thing, like I think like she was really ahead of everything and really helped to generate a conversation that needed to happen about how we view women in games. And like, there she was met with a lot of resistance at that time about like, whether or not it was worth it, whether or not what she was saying was sound, and whether or not it mattered. And but I think, since then, so many games have changed the way in which they viewed women characters and how they present women characters. That's like really made it so that we see a lot of diversity now that we hadn't seen before. Granted, it's still a work in progress. There's still a lot to be done, um, but I do think we're doing a lot. I do think a lot is being done for women in games and women's stories. I mean, it would be great as well if the diversity of the people at the table sort of
Mhm.
writing the
Mhm.
stories was as diverse as like sort of the characters that they're presenting. But I think like that's turning now too, in some instances, like particularly my favorite always to bring up is Mary Kenny, who's just awesome. She's working at Insomniac, and she's just so cool. The fact that like she worked on Miles Morales and like really fought for things like the fact that there was a character who could perform sign language, you know, like it's just like it's really lovely that it's really lovely that people are being invited to the table who deserve to be invited to the table. And um you know, yeah, I think a lot is starting to be done in that regard. But yeah, it's just like that little that bit more. I really loved I really loved Returnal though, and I'm blanking
Mm,
on the lead character's name for whatever reason. But like I really loved Celine. Yeah, Celine. So Returnal was about well, it's a bit of a spoiler, but it was about a woman, who's going through some family some
right.
family crisis,
Mm,
but it was a really unique storyline for a woman character in a game to have that,
mm,
and, like, you know, it was nice, and, like, yeah, she's a strong person, she's a strong character, um, she doesn't make any excuses, like, there's no sort of, like, weirdness put into her character to make her seem
mm,
like, I don't know, something of the male gaze or whatever. And also, like, I mean, a lot of the team who created Returnal were extremely diverse at Housemark. And so, like, you know, it was an incredible feat for women in games, particularly with that game. Um, but yeah, I think there's a lot being done. I think it just yeah, we just need to kind of work internally though as well on how we how diverse our tables are, both in gender, but then also in ethnicity as well. Since you know you can't
mhm,
just have all of people who look like me at the table. Like that's
right.
not diversity. You know, it's just it has to be everybody.
Yeah, agreed. I think you've answered that question beautifully.
Oh,
I
thank
think
you.
like a lot is being done now is very key, and I think that is ultimately that's the stance I have. I think it's embarrassingly late and slow
Yeah,
how
yeah,
the industry has turned around. Um, but I think there are things being done in a positive light to put women in the lead of games, despite all of the criticisms, or I don't think it's criticism, hate, all of
mm,
the crap that they have to deal with. So with Last of Us, Ellie, for example, putting her
yeah.
face on the front cover caused so much
I
controversy.
know. And then, like, freaking Abby's arms, like, what
Hmm.
the hell? Like, just let a
Hmm.
girl have arms. Like, what the I know.
Yeah, that
I
was,
know.
that was crazy because first I loved Abby. Like I thought
Yeah.
she looked badass. I thought she was cool,
Yeah.
but I was really how to phrase this. People on Twitter really made me think twice about getting Last of Us 2 because
Mm.
they made it come across so negative. I know they were, spoiling stuff left, right, and center,
Oh my gosh, yeah.
but the way they were talking so negatively about representation
Mm.
and the wording they used made it seem like Abby was the trans one for
Mm.
obvious reasons because she's muscular. And that was really off-putting. Just having that discourse around. I'm glad that we ended up getting the game and playing through it and enjoying it, loving it, and
Yeah.
all of that. Uh, I don't even know what the term is, but it's almost fear mongering. It was just
Yeah.
all for naught because the actual representation was so inoffensive to anyone who isn't, just blind with rage.
Yeah.
I don't know how
I
trans person
know.
in the game would be offensive anyway, but it was made such a big deal about nothing
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
this was actually really cool and a massive step forward for representation of women in games and of trans people in games. The
Yeah.
fact that they had an actual trans person act as Lev, the fact that Ellie, Dina, Abby had moments where they all were insufferable. They all had their bad moments. They all had their good moments. It felt 3D. No one ever felt black or white. It was just shades of gray, and
Mhm.
it just felt like a realistic soap or a
Mm.
movie where you don't agree with anyone 100% of the time, but you can kind of see the motivations. And I still think that's one of the best games of all time. It's great.
Mm.
Um, it's crazy to me. Growing up, Lara Croft was a very pivotal female character, but I don't know. I didn't play those games, so I can't really speak
Mm.
for whether those games were actually good or whether it was done for the male gaze, as you say.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, I played those games growing up,
sure,
and
yeah,
like to be fair, like I was actually like a bit resistant, like
mm,
initially. Like I will be honest, like I was a bit resistant initially to the whole like women movement because I found characters like Lara Croft very empowering. So it took me a bit to sort of realize like what to really like sort of get my mind around the fact that like even though I liked these characters, it was setting a standard that could have like a lot of negative impact. And but yeah, like I do love Lara Croft. Like I think that she really like just propelled the idea that like a woman can be strong in a video game. Um the way that they did it was, acceptable back then. It was something that they did to basically just,
yeah,
bring in everybody, and they accomplished that. But yeah, it is kind of like that thing of like they set that bar then, and then they
yeah,
just have to keep setting it higher and make the characters better. But there again, like, saying that, I mean, Samus has been around
yeah.
forever, and people are still always surprised. It's sad that it is the case that people are still surprised that she is a woman,
She's a woman.
but she is a freaking woman and she's awesome. But yeah, like I definitely felt like Lara Croft had did provide a necessary impact in sort of like how people should have, like how games should have women lead characters and how women lead characters could sell games effectively.
Yeah,
Um but yeah, it was just still a little bit problematic by today's standards of women
yeah,
characters, but I still love it. Like I like Lara, yeah, Tomb
yeah,
Raider. I still want to be Lara Croft. I still want to swan dive off a freaking waterfall like she does. But yeah. So yeah, it's all just an evolution. It's all just like,
mm,
people say that minds don't change, but they do. They 100% do. Like, information, it does unfortunately take a while to get out into the sort of nether space of normal people. But like eventually it does. Like I'm having so many conversations now about like pronouns with my mom friends and like things about, sort of what's going on Twitter, like what's the latest discourse, what is dabbing, like all these type of things. Like I'm trying to like, I they see me like essentially interact with their children on a way that's just different to them, where they don't, that
yeah.
the common phrase is always just like, oh, like this just goes over my head, and I'm just like, okay. I'll help you in the darkness of dabbing and what dabbing means to people.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's an interesting time, but I am trying to do the Lord's work of just informing informing everybody about the various aspects of meme culture and
Mm,
but the important stuff as well online.
of course. And the Lord's work you are doing.
Yeah, I couldn't believe it. She's like, I don't know what is he doing? He's dabbing. I'm like, well,
Uh, It's
I
it's good
mean,
that there's taking an interest in it. So
oh yeah, yeah, like all that type of stuff. But yeah.
I mean, as much as there is a light on the negativity, there's also so much to be proud of when it comes to female-led games. Aloy, I think, is arguably this generation's Lara Croft in the fact that she is almost a quintessential female-led gaming character.
Mm.
Perhaps helped by the massive PlayStation platform, but her story is so important, and the fact that her personality is so 3D, I think is again, it's just ticked all the boxes, and she's not overly sexual, she's not sexualized, she's not ridiculed, she's not an idiot. She knows her
Mm.
stuff, she knows what she stands for, she has her beliefs, and you either identify with that or you play as her anyway. So
Yeah.
I think that's really one of the biggest, I think, turns of the century moves done by gaming studios, and I think there's been a lot of games now who have seen that and gone, maybe we can do that.
Yeah.
And that's all you can ask for.
Oh my gosh, yeah, yeah. No, Aloy is sick. She is so cool. And yeah, would love more Aloy type of characters. I mean, Senua's Sacrifice as well. That game, like that character, I'm so like I've not played through Senua's Sacrifice, but like I've seen people play it because I don't have an Xbox, unfortunately. But like it's just so cool. I love this content that we're getting now. Even like I know it's extremely controversial, but Forspoken,
Mhm.
you know, like the Tantas were sickening. They were so cool. Like they are these like women leaders who are witches, and like design wise they're sick, and like they're all varying ages, and like there was a lot of really good things about representation and Forspoken in that sense. It's really sad it went the way it did, but like I really appreciated some of the things that they brought to the table with Forspoken.
I agree, and yeah, I would echo those sentiments. It is a shame because we had to make the decision to not cover the game essentially, uh,
Mm,
and for an actual controversial reason, not for what people on Twitter were doing, like
yeah,
pulling quotes from the main character and Cuff, and saying, "Oh, this game sucks." That was, again, that's more akin to the Last of Us 2 controversy, where you've got a
yeah,
bunch of a word I won't say, that are just um, finding anything to complain about and crap on the game because it's led by a woman. It's a woman saying
yeah,
these cheesy things. It's a woman
yeah,
allowed
yeah,
to, letting herself be free, letting herself be herself, letting herself be a dork, be a geek,
yeah.
letting her hair down. And, for some reason, the internet doesn't like that.
No, no, no.
Yeah.
But yeah, yeah, no, definitely, definitely. Like, yeah, there's definitely there. I definitely saw some things creep up about other aspects of the sort
Mm.
of Forspoken team and Square Enix in general. Um, but yeah, 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 yeah. There was, yeah, it is a shame.
Yeah, it is a shame. Hopefully the next game we'll get it right,
Let's
because
hope.
yeah, there were a lot of things that looked promising. I was very
Mm,
excited. um as you said, the antagonists, they had a mystique to them that was very much alluring. I wanted to know more about them.
yeah,
Yeah, I just had an issue with I guess how the main demographic of the game wasn't really getting the fair shake, wasn't getting,
mm,
respected,
yeah,
I
yeah,
felt. So
yeah. Speculate, and yeah, definitely.
yeah. um but
But
we
anywho.
we have Layla from Red 4, Juliana, who I guess is the antagonist, but she had a very prominent role in Deathloop. So we are
Mm,
seeing these characters, you know, even in the indies as well. There's a lot of games being led by women. Grid Force, off the top of my head.
yeah.
So we are seeing a very deep. I was gonna say was non-shallow, the opposite of shallow. A very non-shallow rise in stories about women in games, and I think that is arguably the first step towards making this a positive change for all. Because if they see that as the norm, you're gonna see less pigs, you know, do what they did with Last of Us 2 and Forspoken.
Yeah, I mean, on that note, actually, not to like jazz up my own thing, but actually, the woman who I've just had on SPG, Jacinia, she actually is a game dev she's based in Oregon now, but she runs her own studio called Jellyfish Parade, and she focuses primarily on creating um, ethically diverse visual novel experiences. And she's POC, and she's really, really, really cool. Like I really love what she's doing. And it is that thing of like, she in her space, like trying to find people who look like her in visual novels, particularly, which are like it's like that sort of romance type of like splitting narrative type of storyline, which I quite enjoy. And yeah, but she's doing it. She's got a team. She's got everything. She's got funding, like, and she's releasing her game, Bell Automata, on the 3rd of March, which is literally this week. I think it's like
Yeah.
Friday. Um, and like it's amazing. It's amazing what she's accomplishing, like essentially as her own boss, as her own leader.
Mm.
It's incredible.
Shout out to her.
Yeah,
Jazinia.
yeah. Yeah,
Awesome.
Jacinia. Jellyfish Parade is the name of her studio, which is so cute. Love it. But yeah, no, really, really love Jacinia.
Oh, amazing. And we'll definitely make sure to put her links all over the description and stuff, or maybe on the screen
Yeah,
somewhere.
yeah, yeah.
Make sure to check out Jellyfish Parade wherever you
Mm.
can and get that new game.
Yeah.
Um, so before I let you go, because I know you're very busy, just got podcasts to promote. Um, the way we've discussed womanhood, and now I think you said, I think we can be proud of the way women are being portrayed now in games. Um, I would like to kind of drag that across to motherhood as well, because
Mm.
fatherhood is something we see told a lot in games, whether we want it or not.
Yeah.
I think you could
Yeah.
trace it back to Zeus, having relations with a swan, and whenever it's negative or positive, I can name several franchises off the top of my head, like God of War, Tekken, Dragon Ball, where fatherhood is a almost central point of the story.
Yeah.
How do you feel that has been carried across to motherhood? Because
Mm.
I feel in real life, mothers are the very most important person to a single person's life.
Yeah.
How well or badly do you feel that relationship has been told in games? And if you feel it's not been done enough, what would you like to see be done about it?
Yeah, yeah, no, definitely. I mean, like, yeah, there's not really a lot of moms. There's not really a lot of moms. I mean, to be fair, Tekken, June was my favorite character, and technically she was a mom because she
I
was
mean, that
Kazuya's
counts.
mom.
Mm.
But she wasn't essential to the storyline. She was kind of forgotten and in favor of Kazuya and Hayachi, which I guess is fair enough, and then Jin, her son.
Mhm.
But yeah. Other than that, like, yeah, there isn't really a lot of focus around being a mother, a lot of stories about being about like a sort of motherly mother protecting it. It's why like I do actually, so Fallout 4 was my first Fallout game ever.
Oh,
And
wow.
I chose to be the woman because like it actually gave me a storyline that was like different for me.
Mm.
Like I was a mom like avenging the death of my son and avenging the death of my husband, like it was just, or no, I was searching for my son or whatever, avenging the death from my husband. But yeah, like it was it was nice. It was a change. It was fun. There's obviously like some characters that like have that sort of leadership role, but like they definitely they definitely only had like the essence of being a mother, not necessarily that they were a mother
Yeah.
themselves. Like, I mean, you have uh Mass Effect's FemShep, who you have to choose in order to get that storyline. Fallout, you have to choose to get that storyline. And yeah, it's hard. There's obviously some that are coming out now. There's that one indie game, which for whatever reason is escaping my mind, of a mother and a daughter on a journey. Probably my favorite interpretation of the mother daughter relationship is like that we've seen so far is actually from Life is Strange, the original.
Okay.
Like, there's this character, Joyce, who is the mother of one of the main characters, Chloe, who's not actually a playable character. She's just like the sort of one of the main protagonists of the storyline. Um, but yeah, like I loved her. I felt really attached to her. Um, I just really felt like she was just such a lovely character to experience and to be a part of, like, her small bit. Um, there's another game which I will spoil, but I won't name it, where the character you find out is actually a mom. But it's not until the very end that you realize that she is a mom. And it's kind of a shame that it's until then.
Mm,
Um, uh, and there's been a couple of experiences like that actually. But yeah, like there's not a lot of storylines like that. And I guess it like partially does come because of the fact that, it's a lot of men who are feeling very emotional, probably very attached about the fact that they've become fathers themselves. And so they want to write a story to reflect their emotional state of the fact that they are a dad now and they feel important, which is fine, I guess. But there again, I guess it's like the demographic, right? Like
yeah.
there's not a lot of us. There's not a lot of moms who game. Like we are a very select bunch. I think it's gonna well, I hope it might grow in the future. Um, time will only tell how the generations go with like moms like me who grew up with games and
Mm,
are sharing them with our daughters. But I know as far as sort of my general radius, I'm kind of still the unicorn that exists amongst the other moms, right? Like
mm.
I know one other mom who plays Fortnite and that is all she plays. And so I cannot connect with her. Like I respect Fortnite. I I want to love Fortnite, but like I don't play just one game. I'm a very
Sure.
diverse gamer and I want to critique and talk about narratives and
Mm,
themes and stuff. And she doesn't want to do that.
mm.
Which I guess is fair enough. But yeah, so yeah, I don't know when we'll get more mom content. I hope that we do. Um, because it is important. Like I love I mean, the movie Everything Everywhere All at Once, I thought was just such a beautiful interpretation of what it is to be a mom, what like the challenges, particularly mother of adults, you know, how difficult it is to navigate that kind of experience, particularly coming from a background that doesn't necessarily suit the background that your child has evolved to. Like it's quite a difficult thing. Um, but yeah, I hope we do. I hope at some point we do get a game featuring a mama. But
I do too.
yeah, yeah,
I feel that there is definitely a shift, and like, this is because of more knowledge and people not being pricks.
yeah,
Where it's not, oh, a woman has a child and then all of her personality goes away because now she's just a mother. No, you
yeah,
still have things that make you you, and you still have things that you enjoy and adore. And I feel like we are seeing more mothers continuing to play games, which is
yeah.
very important. I hope that we do see some sort of community, whether that is through content or just through Discord or meetups or something like that,
Mm.
something for women who do play games to connect. And so it's not just you feeling that you're the only one who can talk about,
There
you know,
is actually a game dev community. I'm
really.
not sure. Yeah, there's one where it's called like Moms Who Can't Pause on Discord. I don't have the information for it, but like I do belong to that one at least.
Sweet. Yeah, no, that's excellent.
But yeah, like it would be nice to have somebody closer to home to
Yeah,
just have a cup of coffee with and just
right.
let our kids play, and then we can just talk about the crap that other companies are doing. I don't know. Yeah, just
Yeah,
something.
but something exactly, something to bond over, something to talk about, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm very happy that there is, you know, discords out there. Um, yeah, I hope that goes not beyond that, but I hope that there are stuff in person as well, offline,
Mm.
you know, that offline community as well, because it's so important to have, I guess, iron sharpening iron and having those friends that you can relate to with, whether it's particular games or just in general, the hobby. I think that's very important. And
Yeah, no, I agree.
and I think we will call it there. Thank you so much, Lauren, for coming on. Um, yeah, would you like to shout out your platforms? Of course, the behemoth platforms of Final Fantasy Union and She Plays Games. They play games as well. Please feel free to share wherever people can keep up to date with you.
I know, I have a lot. I'm sorry. But yeah, no, no, thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me on. It's been really, really lovely to chat with you. And of course, yeah, like my main one is always at Level Up Lauren, and I generally share things on there. But if you want to find the She Plays Games podcast is at She Plays Podcast. I couldn't get She Plays Games, somebody stole it.
Ah.
Um and and at They Plays Podcast as well. Both of those are kind of our pride and joys. And then but if you want Final Fantasy takes, it's at Final Fantasy, well, at FF Union, and it's just Final Fantasy Union on YouTube. But yeah, that's generally where you can spot me bobbing about.
I am looking forward to your next appearance on FF Union because I think you've put a lot of work into that channel, and yeah, you should definitely, you know, strut your stuff on there again every now
Oh,
and
thank you. Thank you. I'll do my best. Yes, no, thank
then.
you.
Welcome. Thanks again for coming on. Very much appreciated. Um, and if you'd like to keep up to date with the Streamcast, you can follow us at Streamcast underscore on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. And you can go to thestreamcast.co.uk to keep up to date with anything else that we do, whether it's podcasts, live streams, blogs, or something else. But until the next time, please take care of yourselves and your loved ones. Stay safe. We'll see you on the next Streamcast.